good? Everybody good? Carol, Joe? I'd like to call the regular session meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Romanek?
Here.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Here.
Commissioner Sui?
Here.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Here.
Commissioner Casabun? Here.
Can I please invite Reverend Murky up to give the invocation, followed by a salute of the flag? May we please stand?
I pray you all a blessed holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, and Happy Hanukkah. Thank you, God, for the blessing of this day, for the privilege of being a part of a community that is involved and invested. Thank you, God, for our leadership. Bless them and guide them as they meet tonight. And Father, lead our city forward by your grace. May this truly be a season of joy and peace. We ask it in your name and for your sake. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975, was advertised, posted, and made available to the public as required by statute. The municipal clerk is directed to include a statement in the minutes of this meeting. Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
Just one, Mayor, which was the addition of resolution number 8, authorizing an order for the demolition of Block 3, Lot 5.05, after 15 days due to the structure being deemed an uninhabitable, imminent danger.
Thank you. We will now move to presentations. We could begin with presentations.
Okay.
There you go.
Hello, everyone. My name is Connor Kimmel.
Can you-
I'm redevelopment counsel to the city. We have on tonight for adoption an ordinance that would authorize a long-term tax exemption and financial agreement between the city of Millville and CRP Development Urban Renewal LLC. The ordinance was introduced last meeting on December 3rd, along with the adoption of a redevelopment agreement and purchase and sale agreement. And I will kick it to Brian Morris, financial advisor to the city, who did a lot of the financial work in making sure that we could get to this agreement here tonight. If Brian's there.
Connor, is it all voice or nothing to see, right?
No, yeah, he's got a cam. You can turn on the
No,
camera.
For us to see, should we move down?
I think you're okay. Yeah,
Is Brian on?
Brian, you here?
that's okay. Worst thing, I can speak a little loud to make sure everybody hears me. Well, I can just give a quick little financial introduction as well. We Phoenix Advisors are the financial advisors to the city. We have, over the course of the past year plus, negotiated with the entity whom we are seeking to enter into the agreement today. And the way it just kind of goes is you start by submitting an application to the city with their financials, project costs. They're vetted and negotiated until we reach what's called an annual service charge, which the entity would be paying to the city in lieu of conventional taxes. Over the course of the agreement, which covers 3 projects, the annual service charge to the city would total about $190 million. And we also wanted to point out that in the application that is on the city's website, there was a reference to a property tax number that was not the case, should not have been in there. The property tax that will be assessed on the property is approximately $230,000. That number is reached after you extrapolate the purchase price for the property. The purchase price for the property was $10.2 million. That was covered in the purchase and sale agreement that was authorized December 3rd.
Brian, you here?
Yes.
Brian, if you have anything else to share, you can go ahead. If not, we can move on.
I apologize, you were muted, so I didn't hear what you said, but I can just run through my overview
Perfect.
real quick. So thanks, everyone. My name's Brian Morris. I'm with Phoenix Advisors. We're the city's municipal advisor. So we help analyze the financial cost benefit of the proposed pilot and help negotiate the financial terms. Wanted to start off by apologizing just about one minor typo that was in the pilot application that was prepared by the developer. In the narrative section, they have implied that the total land taxes would be approximately $750,000. The actual figure is expected to be about $230,000 and is correctly reflected in all of the financial exhibits in the application, as well as the independent analysis that we prepared on behalf of the city. That tax assessment is based on the developer's purchase price, adjusted for the city's ratio of market value to assessed value. So in total, the project consists of 3 phases and is expected to bring over 3.6 million square feet of warehouse space to the site, with the possibility for a hotel as well. It's been a challenged site that the city has owned and has been underdeveloped for many years. The developer is purchasing the property from the city for $10.1 million and is also paying about $400,000 up front for a required road extension to help make the future phases viable. The current site generates no tax revenue since it's owned by the city, but under the pilot, as mentioned, there will be a land tax assessed of about $230,000, and that'll be split between the county at about $60,000, the city at about $85,000, and the school district at about $85,000. The land taxes will begin to be collected at the sale of the property once it's no longer municipal owned, and then the pilot will begin to be collected upon completion of the first phase, which is probably 18 to 20 months later. The phase 1 pilot payments are projected to range from about $750,000 in year 1 to over $4.4 million in year 30. They total about $68 million over the 30-year period. And at full build out of all 3 phases, the pilot payments are projected to be about $2.2 million per year and total over $205 million over the full term of the pilot. So I can turn it back over to you, Connor. Thank you.
We're good.
Thank you, Brian. I wish you feel better. I know you're a little bit under the weather, but thank you for doing the presentation virtually. Thank you for Ricky for working all this out. See no more further presentations. Thank you. I will now move to the public comment on agenda items only. If anybody would like to come to the podium to comment on agenda items only, please come to the podium, state your name, address your concerns, and please limit those concerns and comments to approximately 5 minutes. Thank you.
Rose Sias, Whitaker Avenue, Millville, New Jersey. Just had a quick question for, what was his name, Brian? Brian. And also for the city. On the different types of pilot plans, I see that there's 2 different types. There can be one that's based on the project's gross revenue paid, or the one that's based on the project costs. So which one are you using?
Sure, I can answer that. Yeah, that's a great question. This is based on the percent of annual gross revenue. To be completely honest with you, the 2% of project cost pilots have really fallen out of favor over the last probably 10 or 15 years. So the vast majority of pilots that I've done and seen done recently are all based on the percent of revenue approach.
Okay, and so according to this, it should never be less than 10% of the project's gross revenue paid?
Rose, pull your.
It is a It changes over time. So essentially, in years 1 through 10, it is 8.5%. And then in years 11 through 15, it's 11%. In years 16 through 20, it's 14%. And then in years 21 through 30, it's 18%. There's also a fixed dollar amount per square foot to serve as a minimum, just to offer some downside protection to the city if their revenues, the entity's revenues, turned out to not be as they were expected. So we struck it as a three-prong approach just to offer additional safety and both downside protection and upside benefit to the city. The third, sorry, I didn't mention the third item. The third item is a percent of conventional taxes, which ranges from 20 to 80% essentially, with the 80% being in the last 10 years.
Okay, so this is like a projected cost, projected 190 million in 30 years is how much you expect to pay the city? That's projected because it's based on revenue, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Projected,
So
yes.
projected
Yeah,
revenue is
that's all
not
based on
profit, right?
projections.
Am I wrong there?
That is not profit.
Okay, it's not profit, it's actual income. Okay, great, thank you so much.
And just real quick too, just one last point, those three prongs that Brian mentioned, every year it's the greater of those three that are
Okay.
going to be coming to the city. So in year 2, it may be the annual gross revenue. In year 3, it may be the dollar per square foot. Whichever figure is the greatest figure, that's the figure that the entity will be paying the city. It's always the greatest of those three every
Explain
year.
again about the per square foot.
So there's a fixed dollar figure per square foot as that, like Brian says, kind of serves as a minimum. So you take the square footage of the project and you would multiply it by that particular dollar figure. If that is higher than the percentage of annual gross revenue, then that's what they're going to pay. Whatever's the highest
Square
of those
footage
three.
of the
they pay.
property, of the whole property, or of
Of the
each
project.
warehouse?
The project.
Of
So,
all the warehouses?
well, for,
or as
for,
you
for
build
phase
them?
1, there's a
As you
phase 1
build
project that has 2 warehouses. So the particular square footage in those warehouses will be multiplied by $1 per square foot in each of those 30 years. And if that happens to be the highest number of these 3 prongs, that's what they're going to pay. You're probably going to see the annual gross revenue to start, and as we get towards the end, the last 10 years, it is a percentage of otherwise applicable taxes, and it's going to be 80% of what they would be paying normally. Those last 10 years, it'll probably be that rung that dictates, but each year, whatever calculation spits out the highest number, that's what they're going to be paying to the city.
Okay, and this chart that's based on square footage comes from the state, or who developed that?
We sort of, it came through negotiations as they vetted their numbers, just to kind of have just a minimum payment if their revenues didn't quite fulfill as their projections, if it didn't, the
And-
return wasn't there.
Okay, and this is going to, it says it's a 30-year pilot plan, so, but the project can be based up to 35 years based on when you execute the financial agreement?
The particular payments will be over 30 years. There's just a little bit here. I will
So the-
get to the termination date provision.
Each phase gets its own 30-year
Each,
payment
correct.
schedule.
Oh, each one,
Each phase gets its own 30 years, yeah.
wow, okay, thank you.
Can you, Patricia Kears, 409 Peach Drive, can you explain the benefit to me of a pilot as opposed to traditionally paying taxes to the city? What is the benefit to the city that we get this money right away and I'm very confused on this 30 years. Well, obviously, it's going to be longer than 30 years now.
Well, there's a lot of benefits to the city. First of all, the particular piece of property hasn't been developed for over 20 years. It's been city-owned, and no tax revenue has been coming to the city. And the long-term tax exemption law, the purpose is to allow these tax exemptions for projects that would not work financially if it weren't for this tax exemption. So what you're getting is an influx of $10.2 million, the city is, from the purchase price. You're also getting this piece of property on the books so that it can start generating real estate taxes. The project itself, over the course of the term, is expected to generate over 1,000 jobs. And yeah, those are just some of the benefits. Brian, if you have any more, I mean.
Yeah, one thing I'll just add is, in the current market, from the builder's perspective, it's a little more difficult than it has been in the past with higher interest rates, more strict lending parameters, and just higher building costs, from inflation and what have you. So part of the benefit of the pilot is it allows you to negotiate the payment terms. Like, for example, you can strike it so that you can meet certain requirements in maybe the first couple years and then exchange for higher payments in certain other years. So it just offers a little additional flexibility, and it offers predictability over the 30-year horizon as well from the lenders and the financing perspective, because the future taxes could be uncertain. So by offering this predictability of the tax liability, it just lends itself to the projects having a better succeeding and attracting lenders and attracting financing, etc.
Okay.
And just to clarify one thing, it's 30 years for each phase, but theoretically, obviously we don't know the timing of each phase, but it obviously behooves the developer to build them relatively quickly. So it's not like it's 30 stacking on top of each other for 90 years or anything like that. It's 30 for each one. So if they're all built within 5 years, then the total is only 35 years.
So the
I just wanna make sure that's
$10.2 million
clear.
purchase price would come to the city immediately? Or is that spread out?
That would be due immediately. They would pay that to get ownership of the property.
And then my question is, what happens if the developer goes bankrupt?
I mean, if the developer, so if nothing gets built,
Correct.
so if nothing gets built, the purchase and sale agreement that was authorized on December 3rd,
So it would be the
Has-
10.2 million
yeah. That,
and 230,000 in taxes per year?
that's what is coming, yes, that will be coming to the city. Yes, that will be coming to the city. Now, if they go bankrupt and they don't build this project, the purchase and sale agreement has what's called a right of reverter that allows the city to go back and take that property back. We don't keep the $10.2 million if we do that, but we would have the property back. So they can't just sit on it and land speculate. There's also provisions in the redevelopment agreement that was authorized on December 3rd that specifically prohibits that. They can't just sit around and prohibit it. That would be, the redevelopment law just wants to encourage redevelopment, and they
Okay.
don't want people to come in
And
and
out
sit
of
on
this
it.
230,000, you said it's 85 for the county, 85 for the city or the school board? I'm sorry, I got this.
61 to the county.
Oh, no worries. It's 60 for the county, 85 for the city, and 85 for the school district.
Okay, thank you.
And of course, that's just based on the current tax split. Obviously, that could change, over the years.
So we're looking at actually 5 warehouses,
Over all 3 phases, yes.
3 phases,
There's
5
collective
warehouses.
5, yes.
And there's going to be 1,000 jobs anticipated with automated warehousing and robotics the way it is. Is that a guarantee anywhere? Or is that just?
The number is
a
not
hope?
the number is not guaranteed. No,
Okay.
it's not guaranteed.
Thank you.
Roy Shepard, Millville. I have a couple questions, but my main question is, if CRP was so, sure of themselves on filling these warehouses, it seems as though they wouldn't be asking for such a big, large tax break. Is there any reasoning behind why we couldn't go to, say, a 15-year and not be at a 30-year? Is there a reason why it's at a 30-year? Thank you.
Brian, you want to take that on the last, 10 years and the return that the city's going to see, following year 15?
Yeah, so I guess a couple things. Number one is, the typical, duration for the warehouse pilots is 30 years. That's not to say it couldn't be different, but, upon analyzing this pilot and speaking with the city and the developer, we thought it made sense to do the 30-year term. The city, collects more revenue. They get 95% of the pilot payment. So, generally the city would collect more funds from a longer duration pilot.
Paul Pareca. I think it's great that you're selling the ground, and I really like the purchase price, $45,000 an acre. No other ground in Millville has sold for that much. Which brings me to the question of the $230,000. That's based on the purchase price or the appraised value of the land based on the other comparables throughout the city?
So that the land assessment is based on, it works out to being about $9 million instead of the $10 million. But it's based on about 40,000 per acre, which is what the assessor believes to be the fair market value. So they are paying a slight premium at the 45 per acre, as you mentioned.
Right. The Millville's currently at 60% of true market value on its assessment ratio. So how do you keep it at $40,000 an acre to get to 230 if Millville's at a 60%? And you're only allowed a 15% differential on that.
So the market value of like 9 million that I mentioned, if you apply the 60, I have 65% equalization. If you apply that, you get to an assessed value of 5.9 million. And then if you apply the 3.89 per 100 tax rate to that 5.9 million, that's where we got the 230,000.
Okay. That's using 40,000 an acre.
Correct, yep.
Do you have any comps that support that appraisal or that assessment? Because Millville sold the last.
We'd have to.
Millville sold the last ground in that park for 28,000.
Yeah, we'd have to talk about with the tax assessor because that number was derived from the city's tax assessor. So we'd have to speak with them more. But I think the logic was, given that they're paying 45 an acre, that we would just reduce it slightly to the 40,000 per acre for purposes of assessment.
Yeah, so the agreement allows for the purchaser of the land to appeal the value of the land. It does not allow for the assessor to increase the value of the land when they subdivide it or put the improvements in. That's specifically prohibited in the agreement. So the only way that ground could go would be to a lower assessment. So I'm still having a hard time figuring how you're going to get to $40,000 an acre and keep it there when the purchaser is entitled to appeal it. Is there a way to do in the agreement that he agrees to the assessment rather than giving him the right to appeal it and set the assessment ahead of time?
Well, I'll defer to Connor on the legal workings of the agreement, but the part of the pilot is the developer gets a credit against their pilot for the land taxes they pay, so they are indifferent to the amount of the land taxes.
Except that it goes to the schools.
So it does not impact them.
Except that it goes to the schools in the county. The land tax goes to the school in the county.
It's still being paid and it's still going. It's still being paid and it's still going to the schools in the county. But the developer does not care how much it is because it gets credited against the pilot they pay each year.
So you said it was about 190 million. The contract says it's about 130 million over 30 years. That comes, over 30 years, that comes to $4.3 million per year. I couldn't find any of the assumptions that actually supported that number. One of the things that the developer is entitled to do is subtract many of his expenses, including the cost of the land, when it comes to what his ASC will be. So there was no charts in the contract that showed how much he would be deducting in expenses to calculate his ASC, or how you get to that 130,000. I didn't see the 190 anywheres.
It should have been 190 million. Yeah, it says 130. It should be 190. And the ordinance that authorizes this, so long as it's adopted, allows the commission to make any sort of modifications in consultation with council that may have been a scrivener's error. It's $190 million, not 130. So you're getting an extra $60 million benefit than that agreement currently says. It's 190 million.
But based on what mathematical calculations? Are you using the tax rate with the schools and the county in it?
So, Brian, do you want to explain how we get to the total $190 million? They have, they make an application where they certify to their estimated revenues, their costs, and that's how we sort of vet their numbers. And we run an analysis that shows what their annual gross revenues are projected to be, and based on the square footages and the otherwise applicable taxes, those three prongs that I had explained before, when you apply those formulas over each 30-year period, the projected number that we get is 190 million to the city.
What tax rate are you using? Are you using the county, the school, and the city, or just the city tax rate?
I'd have to defer to Brian on the tax rate being used.
Yeah, so just to clarify, so as Connor mentioned, we project out their annual gross revenue. We apply that three-prong test each year, what the greater of each of the tests is, to arrive at the gross annual service charge. That number is 205 million, as I mentioned in the intro. But the law allows, or doesn't allow for it, but requires certain deductions and additions to that number. So number one is a 2% administrative fee that is paid on top of the pilot to offset the cost of the city administering the pilot. Over the 30-year term, that's about $4 million. Next, the law requires that 5% of the annual service charge is given to the county. That's about $10 million over the 30-year period. And then finally, as I mentioned just before, the developer receives a credit for the land taxes that they paid, that $230,000, projected to increase over time. That's about $10.5 million over the period. So once you factor in all three of those additions and deductions, you get to the 190 million of net revenue that's going into the city. When you ask what tax rate we use, we use the total tax rate. It factors in everything. We can't just use one or two pieces of it. It's everything.
So Millville gets the city rate, the county rate, and the school rate, and keeps it all except for the 5% that they give to the county?
Are you referring to the land taxes?
No. I'm referring to the $190 million projected taxes that Millville is supposed to receive.
The $190 million is the pilot payment. That goes to the city. It's not regular taxes, so it's not split at all. It all goes to the city.
Right. My question was, what tax rate are you applying to his ASC to get to the 190 million? Are you using the tax rate with all three taxes, or just the city's tax rate?
No, so it really is not anything to do with the taxes. It's that three-prong.
So it's just a
test
percentage.
that we,
It's just a percentage of his
spoke about.
income then.
It's either a percentage of the gross revenue.
It's three things, right? The percentage of his income, the dollar per square foot, and the percent of conventional taxes.
Right. And
over the 30-year period.
Well, in the first 5 years, it's really only a two-prong because it's 0% of the taxes. So if he puts all of his expenses, which he's also allowed to carry over expenses from year to year, he can reduce that ASC considerably.
Is there a
Would-
question in that statement, sir?
Yeah,
It's also another reason why we have that dollar per square foot, right? The square footage of those warehouses is going to be the square footage of those warehouses. So if you were trying to manipulate one prong, that other prong serves
so
as
the
backup.
third prong will probably be, the middle prong
The middle prong
will probably
correct.
be the
If-
one that he ends up paying.
If someone were to try to, do what you were explaining, yes, that middle prong would be there as a backup for the city.
Okay. The redevelopment agreement says on page 13, section 5.2, double I, that the ASC will not be included in general funds. It's under the section where the city is required to bond $400,000. But it doesn't say that it's only in reference to the 400,000 that the city is bonding. So is the ASC allowed to be included in general funds, and what can it be spent on?
Can you, what agreement are you looking at? I just went to page 13 of the RDA and it wasn't there.
You mean RAB?
Are you talking about the financial agreement?
Area bond?
Yeah, well, it
Which
was-
agreement are you looking at?
It was on the agenda, it was the second item on the agenda for the ordinance, the 62-page one.
Gotcha, so it's the financial agreement. Okay, can you repeat your question?
So it says the ASC will not be included in general funds for the city. So if it's not in the general funds, what can it be spent on?
Security for the bonds.
Section 2, 5.2, section 2, or section II.
Well, this is under the Article 5, which is the pledging of the annual service charge to the bond. So in this context, it's talking about the bond under the RAB law. And I don't know if we've really talked about the bond in this, under this agreement.
I think you need to.
Yeah, maybe take a step back. So the long-term tax exemption law has particular statutory minimums. You can't go below 10% of annual gross revenue, if you are just going under that particular law. There's a second law called the Redevelopment Area Bond Financing Law that allows a municipality to issue bonds towards a public improvement that will then get you, it will allow a municipality to get into an agreement and have a annual gross revenue for less than 10%. So if you were to look at Exhibit D of this agreement for the first 10 years, the left prong is 8.5% of AGR. If there was no bond in here, that agreement would be contrary to law and we wouldn't be able to enter it. But the legislature allows for a bond to be issued towards a public improvement that you can manipulate those thresholds to get something that works. And in here, this bond is a $400,000 bond that's going to be paid by the developer and will be used to extend and otherwise rehab NAB Avenue. That's critical for the project, and I'm sure many of the commissioners can speak to how important it is to the city overall. So they are going to pay $400,000 upfront to the city that the city can use towards the NAB Avenue extension.
So they're buying the bonds?
Correct. They're buying the bonds at 0% interest, so nobody else would buy, a bond like that. They buy it. It's essentially an upfront payment towards a public benefit that allows the municipality and the entity to sort of manipulate those minimums.
So then that's going to sit in escrow until the county decides to build NAB Avenue extension?
Well, it'll be used towards NAB Avenue, yeah, I can't tell you.
And all that's an amount the county demanded from the city.
Yeah, I remember that, but it's going to sit there until the county decides if they're going to build NAB Avenue, and then if they decide they're going to build NAB Avenue.
It's not the county who's deciding who's going to build NAB Avenue. The city will decide who builds NAB Avenue.
Really? You have that much money?
I made a statement.
I'm asking you if they have that much money. Do you know how much it's going to cost to build the NAB Avenue extension?
Mr. Parecka, can you
That's a
please
question.
talk about are you talking any more about CRP?
I'm sorry?
Are you talking any more about CRP, Mr. Pareca?
I am, because the Nab Avenue extension has to be built, or Phase 2 and Phase 3 does not
Correct.
get built. Perhaps you didn't read the entire contract, or you would know I'm still talking about it. Why are you interrupting me? That's a question, too. You wanted me to ask questions. I asked you if you have enough money to build
Mr.
Nab
Pareca,
Avenue.
You also had 5 minutes, and I'm allowing you way over that because this
That's
is important
because
to the
you're
public.
talking and I'm not the entire time. I mean,
You're at-
really, you're spending, you're committing the city to 50-year contract, a 50-year contract, and you're not going to let me talk for 5 minutes?
Mr. Pareca, you are at
You know what?
17
Hey,
minutes.
I think it's a great idea that you're selling it, but I think that the contract needs to be looked at very carefully because it's a 50-year contract. It's
Mr.
not
Mayor,
a
can I
30-year,
interrupt
it's
for
a
a second?
50-year.
Go right ahead, Commissioner Sui.
As the county had preliminary designs with a, I forget what it was, a 60-degree turn and a roundabout on state land, the approximate cost was $14 million. That can be significantly reduced by a normal design of a road, I will say. I have talked to one of the county freeholders that will probably be the next director. They are willing to now do the road. It is on the SJTPO. It is on their list as a priority to get done now. So it's not a matter of if, it is a matter of when. Could the city do it? I believe we could do it. It wouldn't, I don't think it would be $14 million. It would take some crazy financing, but I think it could be done. But I would rather, hopefully the county will participate because it benefits the entire county, not just the city of Millville.
Yeah, pretty confusing that the county demands a $400,000 contribution to Nab
They
Avenue.
wanted that for the
But
design.
Millville's the one that's deciding
We
whether
may,
we're
we
building
may
it.
end up doing that. That may end up being the case, but I don't think it will be the case. They asked for that for the design phase. That's what they wanted the $400,000 for.
So you're going to give the county $400,000. The developer gets to subtract it from what he gives in the ASC because it's going to the city up front. But Millville's going to build the road.
I hope the county builds the road. It's probably going to be a group effort. If you look at what they did where they relocated Northeast Precast, it was a group effort. So
Okay.
hopefully that will be the case.
And that makes sense. But,
Well, of
but the
course it
mayor
does.
just told me that the county is not making any of the decisions.
Well, they're
that
not making,
Millville's making
well,
the
we're going
decisions.
to, ultimately, we're going to end up making the decision, but he's not wrong in that. But hopefully the county helps and it goes.
But you
as I
don't
said.
own any of the ground that the road goes
We have been in
through.
negotiations with the owner of that ground for a couple of years now.
Yeah, to sell it to who? The county
I
or the
can't
city?
get, I can't get into the negotiations. I'm prohibited from doing
Well,
that.
it's not getting sold to the city because the city has no money to buy it. It's getting sold to the county. So the city is not making the decision whether Nab Avenue gets built or not. The county is making the decision.
That's not
So-
necessarily true. Well, we can argue, you
Yeah,
can say that, I'll say what I say, and then we'll disagree.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see that 6 months down the road, who builds it. We'll see if Millville builds it, okay? So everybody sitting in this room probably understands that Millville is not going to build Nab Avenue, or they would have built it a long time
I
ago.
certainly hope we don't have to.
Right. So the county's going to build it. So now Phase 2 and Phase 3 is dependent upon the Nab Avenue extension getting built. Is that correct?
I don't want to speak for the developer. I mean,
Isn't that what's written in the agreement?
okay, then yes.
Okay, so it can get extended indefinitely, which would then extend the pilot 50 years.
The pilot, the term of the pilot for each phase is 30 years.
From the date
The
of the construction.
contract can run 50 years in case, right? If one is built in year 1, right? The second one is built in year 10, and the third one is built in year 20, then each one would get their 30-year pilot, right?
Yes.
But from execution to the 30th year of the last project would be 50 years.
Yeah.
That would be, under this agreement,
That was-
allowable.
that was-
If the third project is built in year 25 of the contract, right? 25 years, you hit 50 years, and they would not be subject to the last 5 years of the pilot term.
Right.
These are statutory limits within the long-term tax exemption law.
That was my point, is that it's very easy for this to extend to a 50-year agreement because the Nab Avenue extension is tied to the date of Phase 2 and Phase 3. The 30 years starts when you're issued a CO for the construction.
The developer has a business right to get these buildings done, right? so
Sort of
that
like the
they
racetrack, right? Like they're gonna build hotels.
Paul, if I may, the developer made clear since the beginning that the site is, the transportation of the site is poor. The infrastructure is not good for a site like this. And really, if the Nab Avenue extension is not done, I don't think that Phase 2 and Phase 3 are gonna get built. The developers kind of made that point from the very beginning.
Right. But that's,
So
I
you're not
think
gonna
that
be-
wasn't made
Right.
clear to the public, and I think that when I did the reading of that, it seemed like that was pretty clear to me, so I thought it should be explained. And believe me, I want this project to go through more than anybody, and I'll tell you why. Because I own 450 acres of industrial land right across the street from the airport, and if it's worth $45,000 an acre, I'm happy about that. I want it to get built. I just don't want to see Millville get into a deal that is somewhat negative because of the way the contract is written, and it's over 50 years. Maybe a couple will be left. I won't be left to see this thing end in 50 years. But, you know, there was, like you said, the $750,000 land tax is written in this contract. No one put on the agenda that was a different number. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, you're going to prove this with numbers that don't match. There's dates in the contract that have already passed. So I didn't understand, like, if you're even allowed to pass something when you read it at the first ordinance with errors in it, don't you have to pass it again on the first to correct those errors?
An error like this, no.
Okay.
No.
That was my other question. And then the only other thing that was interesting in the purchase contract was that the contract doesn't have to be fulfilled for 18 months. And my question is, am I interpreting that correctly?
Can you tell me where you saw that in the agreement, and can you just throw that again? Because this is a contract that was authorized last meeting. We're talking about the financial agreement here tonight.
Which are related because of the dates.
So give me your question again, please.
I read that the contract allows for 18 months before it has to go to settlement.
How much time would closing is gonna be?
There's 60-day due diligence from the time it was signed. There's 9 months for approvals.
Yeah. Either party shall have the right to cancel this agreement if the closing does not occur within 18 months of the effective date of the redevelopment agreement.
Right. So yeah, so the chances are that we could be 18 months before we see any money. And then he starts all of his approvals and all of his dates, which are incorrect in the RAD agreement based upon if he settles the 18 months, because many of those dates will have already been passed. And those dates were dates that he needed to have planning board approval and all of the other stuff.
If we have to amend the redevelopment agreement, that's something that we can absolutely do.
Those dates will be adjusted.
Sure,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Greg Keers, 409 Peach Drive. Kind of asked a couple of things I was actually going to ask. So I guess I'll just leave it with this comment that this is a generational choice that 3 of you really aren't going to see the end results of, with all due respect. And you won't feel the results if it doesn't go well. It'll be your grandkids and their kids that are figuring it out. I remember the racetrack when it came in 2012. I remember the promises, how many ratables it would bring. Then I remember how that land was redeveloped.
Greg.
And I can't help but think this could happen here. Wait.
We just have a public hearing on this.
I know,
Okay.
but this is a separate.
Just making sure.
Yeah, I understand.
Thank you.
So I guess my question is, one of the things that was brought up by the redevelopers was that one of the reasons that this particular place was picked was because one of their either clients to be or clients that were already in place noted that Virginia was not cost effective to relocate to. Now, I did some research on this. Per ZipRecruiter, Virginia warehouse workers on average make $15 an hour. In the state of New Jersey, same data, $15.77. So the only way for this developer to create these 1,000 jobs that they're promising, assuming they don't go bankrupt and all of this works out the way it is, would mean that these aren't necessarily going to be wages based on what was said that are going to be the average warehouse worker. And that's before automation. 30 years is a long time. And I mean, I've seen what's happened with tech in the last 4. And yeah, I mean, good luck to the city with this. And I mean, really, you're betting a lot on a lot of ifs. And I worked on a lot of political campaigns where we sold a lot of hopium to a lot of people. Sometimes there was real policy behind it. Sometimes there wasn't. This feels like a lot of hopium. Thank you.
Good question. Seeing no one else, I will close the public comment on agenda items. Transfer resolution.
Okay, we have a resolution authorizing a transfer of funds for various 2024 budget appropriations.
Make motion.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second on transfer resolutions. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Bills.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second to pay the bills. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Minutes.
I just need a motion to approve and dispense with the reading of the following minutes and to proceed with the regular order of business, December 3rd, 2024 work session, December 3rd, 2024 closed session, and December 3rd, 2024 regular meeting.
Make a motion.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second, approval and dispense of the reading of the following minutes and to proceed with the regular order of business. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Abstain from 1 and 2, yes for 3.
Okay, 1, 2, yes. And Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Petitions and letters, please.
Okay, just need a motion to receive and file a letter from Tim Sprania resigning from the planning board effective December 4th, 2024.
Make motion.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second from petition letters, item number 1. Any comments? Thank you, Tim, for your service to the planning board. We duly appreciate your input. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Old business.
Just need a motion to receive and file a letter from the planning board dated December 13th, 2024 concerning resolution number 308-2024 adopted on November 6th, 2024.
Make motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on old business, item number 1. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Reports of commissioners. Commissioner Hewitt.
Yes, thank you. First, I'd like to start off with the last meeting, if I can. As a lot of you know, a lot of you have weren't here.
Okay.
Last meeting, those of you that were here, those of you who were watching, unfortunately, I had to leave as we were starting public comments at the end of the meeting. I appreciate everybody that reached out to me. It was numerous people. I had no medical emergency or an emergency at home. There was an emergency in town that my chief reached out to me to please respond to. That's why I left the way I left, just so that I can make that clear. And again, I want to thank the people who reached out to me to see if everything was okay. High Street, as you all know, it's been closed for a while. We reopened it yesterday with the help of Sergeant Stadnick, myself, and Sergeant Reynolds. The problem with the building has been fixed. Contrary to all popular thoughts and beliefs on Facebook, the Corson building is not collapsing. I want to make that clear. It is, as far as we know, structurally sound. The fascia was falling off the roof just like the fascia was falling off of another side of a building on High Street, which we moved to have removed. So I just want to make that clear. There is no danger of the building collapsing. In fact, to make sure there was no danger, when we had all the winds and such, those last 2 days of a week and a half ago, there were some worries because the wind had shifted and debris was blowing down off of the roof onto Pine Street, which we all know was open. So a call was made. We decided we probably needed to go look at it. A call was then made to the Millville Fire Department. They responded with the ladder truck in order to get people up there to take a look at the roof. What was blowing off of that roof was debris from years and years of people being up there patching things and stuff like that. Again, nothing structural. Myself, Sergeant Stadnick, Vice Mayor Watson, were all out there on the street that night at about 10:30 at night, taking a look at it. So, again, no structural issues. Yesterday, we opened up High Street. High Street will remain open throughout the holiday season. A piece of equipment is still there. It is in an actual parking spot. The corner on the sidewalk will be cleaned up tomorrow, so that debris will be carried away. We have, sadly, with no fault of our own or anybody in this city, really taken a bite out of businesses really big time on High Street, with it being the Christmas season. For that, I'm sorry, but we couldn't avoid that. High Street is open. It will remain open. Finally, I need to thank Sam Cruz's crew. Took one phone call yesterday when we opened up the street, and they were out there within 5 minutes with blowers, blowing the debris, the nails, the whatever that was left inside of the street out of the way so that people weren't getting flat tires and such as they drive up and down High Street. With that, Mayor, progress.
Thank you, Commissioner Hewitt. Commissioner Sui.
Nothing at this time.
Vice Mayor Watson.
Yeah.
Do you want me to read that?
Yeah, if you can.
Sure. So just the discussion item was to just recognize Brock on a recent article in the New Jersey Oprah Law Reporter entitled "A Significant Court Ruling, A Prolific Oprah Requester is Not Allowed to Make Oprah Requests." This article highlights the work of Brock D. Russell, Esquire, who has represented the city of Millville on this issue for over 6 years. He's able to demonstrate to the courts that Adari did not have the legal ability to take any of the actions involved in the Oprah matters, and the frequent requester is precluded from making Oprah requests or litigating over prior denials of its purported requests. So we just wanted to highlight his work.
Yeah, thank you, Brock, for your continuous hard work representing and serving the city of Millville. With this win, you protected the city from potential litigations and frequent Oprah requests, all on which was a financial burden to the taxpayers. City of Millville is very fortunate to have you, sir. Continuing on, without getting into full details, City of Millville was happy to facilitate a meeting with CRP and the Board of Education. Thank you for both parties sitting down with each other. Thank you to the Holly City Development Center for meeting with me today. Heather and Val, you were very informative. It was a pleasure meeting you. I look forward to meeting with you again very soon. On December 5th, NIPRO presented an informal site design to the City of Millville. The site design proposed an over 100,000 square foot syringe manufacturing and packaging facility. The proposed project would be completed but phased into an operation over a 10-year period with an estimated 35 employees to start and an estimation of 140 employees at full operation. The area proposed is in a business enterprise district, allowing pharmaceutical and cosmetic manufacturing, assembling, and packaging. Engineering and planning will continue to review this project. Thank you to NIPRO, NIPRO's engineers, architects, and attorneys. Thank you to the professional staff representing the City of Millville. For me, attending the meeting was truly an educational experience. Engineering and planning represented the city very well. Also, I want to ask to remove resolution item number 5, moving the UEZ powers and duties. I would like to remove that from tonight's agenda.
Would,
So, okay,
do we need to vote on that?
he was the one who
So we need to
requested
remove
it,
it.
so if ever, I mean, he asked to place it on, he's asking to take it off. That's normally how we've done it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You need a
Yeah.
roll call, is what you're saying?
No,
Okay.
because he's the one who requested. If it was
Oh,
a
okay.
different commissioner, that would require the roll call.
Understood.
Okay.
Thumbs up. You done?
Changed his mind.
All good?
All good.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Watson. Commissioner Casabun. I didn't call you Carol.
I spent the last 2 weeks meeting with Streets and Roads. They have a really well-organized department there. So according to Mr. Gressman, 1,700 tons of loose leaves have been collected since November the 1st. Streets and Roads has started the second round for collection, and as of this morning, one crew is in South Millville and the other crew is at Union Lake. Residents have until December the 31st to place loose leaves to the curb for collection. After January 1st, Streets and Roads will do a third and final pass for those loose leaves collection. Bag leaves can be placed at the curb all year round. Tires and appliances collection is next week. We will be a couple days behind for collection due to the holiday and will resume collection on the 30th and the 31st. I would also like to thank the Streets and Roads Department for their hard work and dedication with the loose leaves collection. Also, I would like to thank our fleet garage. They had some truck and equipment issues at our fleet garage, managed to get everything back up and running in a timely manner. And on behalf of the Streets and Roads, we'd like to thank everyone and have a wonderful holiday and a happy new year. And if you have any concerns or questions, contact Streets and Roads at 825-7000, extension 7388. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Casabun. I'd like to say that on piggybacking from Commissioner Casabun, working with Streets and Roads, this is from fifth floor updates, working with Streets and Roads on illegal dumping concerns that was brought to code enforcement's attention on 2 special occasions with separate incidents. So as I talked to, I think last meeting or 2 meetings ago about the illegal dumping cameras, they've been really good. Chris Finch was exemplary in placing them in key areas. I'm sure you're following up on that and are well aware of this. Fifth floor is moving as swiftly and smoothly as possible with doing final and foreclosure inspections of vacant properties and contacting with Triad and CBDG batters on the updated HUD timeline, HUD timeline. I have had successful business meetings, as Vice Mayor has said, with the City of Millville and Board of BOE, Board of Education. Hi, Kim. It's a great ongoing working relationship that we have between the Board of Ed and the City of Millville. I'm happy to see it move forward in all these years. Many other meetings. There's also the last planning board, to touch on that. There is a big new redevelopment, speaking about redevelopments tonight, of area and land on North 2nd Street. Millville 47 is the developer name. It's of 4 individual buildings. One is a Raising Cane's that is coming. Dental practice, Valvoline, quick service lube change. That'll be coming to fruition. It took a long time on planning board last time. We paused it and it will come back on January 13th. That'll be a great addition to the city and an already popular area in Millville. Ordinances in the second reading.
Okay, item 1 is an ordinance approving an application for a long-term tax exemption and authorizing the execution of a financial agreement with CRP Development Urban Renewal LLC for a portion of property identified on the city's tax map as Block 163, Lot 1.
Move the ordinance on second reading.
Make a second.
I have a motion and a second on ordinance in the second reading, item number 1. There's a public hearing on this ordinance. I will now open the public hearing on ordinance in the second reading, item number 1. If anybody would like to make comment on this ordinance, please come to the podium, state your name, give your comments, and please limit to yourself to approximately 5 minutes.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Kimberly Carty, and I'm here today on behalf of the Millville Board of Education, where I serve as president. First and foremost, I want to express our appreciation for the opportunity to collaborate, meet, and explore pathways where we can work together. Your engagement in these discussions is invaluable, and I'm grateful for the time that you've dedicated to the process. The recently approved shared service agreement between the district and the city, which the board passed last night, is an example of the positive outcomes that can arise when we work together. We appreciate the opportunity to discuss with the city and the developer the impact that the long-term pilot project has on the taxpayers in Millville, particularly regarding the portion of the property tax collected that supports the district's local tax levy. My hope is that our partnership strengthens and you'll consider having us at the table in future pilot discussions so that the needs of the students in the city can be included in the financial agreement structuring. I also want to express my gratitude to Mr. Nady, the principal at CRP, and Rob Benacchio, the vice president and general counsel from CRP. I appreciate their shared commitment to leveraging their investment to benefit the district. Their dedication to creating employment and internship opportunities for our students is really exciting. They've expressed their interest in partnering to expand and enhance district educational programming in support of our students. I look forward to hosting them in the new year at the high school to showcase our offerings and to keep the conversation going. I am really excited that CRP is becoming part of the fabric of our community, and I'm really looking forward to that. In talking about the potential of this project, I really can't help but to reflect on what we used to have in Millville in Wheatons. It's part of our community legacy. We all know somebody that worked there, and it was a really important piece of our community that's gone. You know, there's a time when Millville students had the opportunity to learn and grow and be gainfully employed in our city. I'm really hopeful that this could be a step towards creating a similar future. And I'm counting on you as the commission to do the work that's necessary to make sure that this project is successful. My hope is that the city and CRP are committed to fostering opportunities that allow our students to build their futures here in Millville in a way that we don't have currently. In closing, the Board of Ed looks forward to continued conversations and identifying areas where we can work together. Our goal, as I'm sure is yours, is to ensure that this development serves not only the immediate objectives, but also the long-term interests of those who call Millville home. Thanks again for the opportunity to engage in this process. The board remains committed to working together with our city leaders and CRP to find innovative opportunities that benefit the students of Millville and the community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Ms. Gardy.
Patricia Kears, Peach Drive. I just want to say that I'm definitely in favor of development. I'm not a big fan of warehouses. I don't think the future of employment is in that industry that is quickly becoming automated. But my big concern with the whole project is 30 years to 50 years. That will be affecting my grandchildren's children, although they don't live here. It will affect all of your grandchildren and their children. And I think maybe if the timeline was consolidated to less than 30 years, it would be more palatable to me, although I'm only one person. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kears. Seeing no one further, I will close public comment on ordinance for the second reading, item number 1. Any comments from my commissioners?
Yes, if I may. This has been a difficult decision with CRP, with the time frame and everything else. I know that this pilot is for a very long time. I know that several of you either misunderstand or do not agree with this pilot. However, the bottom line in Millville needs redevelopment if it's going to survive. The airport industrial park has no activity for years. All commissioners, Ray Campari, Joe Cauchi, at different times and on different projects, have been working on getting Millville the economic development it needs for the past 3 years. Finally, Millville is moving forward. We now have Livoni. Another company is going to start building next year, and now the CRP project. Millville needs economic development to be able to settle contracts and attract employees, to be able to repair our infrastructure and to improve the quality of life of our citizens. The sale of the land for CRP project is $10 million. CRP will pay taxes on the land over $200,000 per year, and in 2027 it is projected to be over, is this correct, Connor, $600,000 a year?
In taxes, that's the annual service charge.
Okay. I stand corrected there. This is money and industry that Millville sorely needs. This is the creation of new jobs. We have to start somewhere. If we do nothing and try nothing, then Millville will not progress and will not have a chance to flourish. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Hewitt. Commissioner Sui?
Yes, we've been working on this project for about 2.5 years. Ray and I met with CRP when they came in to talk to us. Look, first of all, every project has risks, right? There's no getting around that. So it's our job. It's not anybody else's job. It's our job to explore our options and proceed while keeping the best interest of the city at heart. We listen to our citizens, we listen to our stakeholders, but we were elected to move this city forward. This is a decision that will affect our cities for years, without a doubt. It's probably the most important decision that any of us up here will ever make in regards to the city. Sometimes the decisions are easy, sometimes they're difficult. Our job is to make the best decision with the circumstances and the information at hand. So I'm just going to get into some of the circumstances at hand. The employees are rightfully screaming for a contract. If we don't do this project, their contracts will be unsustainable. Our student body in our schools, I believe I was told there's approximately 80% poverty rate. And that's the statistics that has a direct impact on how our students perform. I don't envy the school board's position. They have a lot of obstacles to work with. They truly do. This helps everybody by helping to break that cycle of poverty. So if we don't break that cycle of poverty, we won't even be able to afford our increased operating expenses. You guys know how it is at home. You see how much food costs and everything else costs. So the reason many of us have worked so hard, and every time we had a vote come up here to do this project, whether it be the redevelopment agreement, the purchase and sale agreement, it's always passed. Unanimously, I might add. So without this, we don't make it. This city doesn't make it. With it, we have the opportunity to prosper. Mr. Parecki, you did have a lot of very good questions. The $750,000, I looked at that myself, and we talked about that. And so thank you for your questions. Complicated, but they were good ones. And if you want me to talk about us financing it privately, I will explain to you what my plan was to do that, just in case the county doesn't. So with that, I'm going to cast a yes vote for this. I think it benefits everybody in this room. And keep in mind, as we build, we're not looking for all warehouses, right? Other projects, we want other things besides warehouses. We, in the past, relied on glass factories. All the glass factories, with the exception of Durant, closed. How did that work out for us? We need to diversify. So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Mr. Cauchi, Susan. I want to thank, Connor and Rob Bernaccio and Joe Nitty, everybody, Phoenix, everybody that was involved in this, our commissioners for making this happen, providing it passes. So now one thing I will tell you is I asked people to come and support this tonight. They didn't want to get involved. But I guarantee you, if this passes, there'll be people here looking for part of that $10 million. So where we go next, I will kind of address at the end of this meeting. So that's it for now.
Thank you, Commissioner Sui. And to say that I did invite a lot of people, I'm thankful to those that showed up that I did invite in support of this. Even though they might not have publicly commented on it, they're here to witness what is happening. And will truly, as Commissioner Sui just said, will enlighten Millville for positive change and moving forward. I have full faith in CRP. This is not the only thing that they do. They were here before this warehouse project with something else that was supposed to come to Millville, and it didn't work out. And it was in a totally different industry. They're multifaceted, multi-tenanted company that is truly directly from Mr. Nitty himself. There's no board, it's him. He controls the company. I have full faith that this will happen, so being it passed. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun,
I was very torn, and I was going to abstain. And I'm going to step out and take a risk, and I'm going to say yes.
Commissioner Sui, excuse me.
Yes.
And Mayor Romanek.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, item 2 is an ordinance appropriating certain unexpended proceeds of the sale of previously issued bonds and notes to finance the cost of additional capital improvements and taking related actions.
Make a motion.
Second motion.
We have a motion and second on ordinance in the second reading, item number 2. I will open public hearing on item number 2. If anybody would like to make comment on ordinance in the second reading, item number 2, please come to the podium, state your concerns, and limit your comments to approximately 5 minutes. Seeing no one, I will close public hearing. Comments of commissioners? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Item 3 is a bond ordinance authorizing various capital improvements and acquisitions appropriating $2,175,000 to pay the cost thereof, authorizing the issuance of $2,066,250 of bonds to finance the appropriation and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in the anticipation of the issuance of bonds.
Make a motion.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second on item number 3. I will open the public hearing on this ordinance. If anybody would like to come to the podium, state your concerns, limit your comments to approximately 5 minutes. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Comments of commissioners? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Item 4 is an ordinance approving purchase and sale agreement and lease agreement for the acquisition and/or rental of the Gaudelli Brothers facility at 202 South Wade Boulevard, Millville, New Jersey.
Make a motion.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second on ordinance in the second reading, item number 4. I will now open public hearing on this ordinance. If anybody would like to come to the podium, state your name, give your concerns, please limit your comments to approximately 5 minutes.
This is the building for 1.8 million. This is the building for 1.8 million?
No.
It is?
Nice. Come up where the microphone is, Anthony.
Good evening, Anthony DeSantis. I'd like to say you're welcome. Keep my mouth quiet. And thank you for listening to me this evening. I'd like to congratulate the City Commission for selling 200 acres for $45,000 an acre. Kind of sets a benchmark. If, you know, I mean, we have a lot of intelligent executives up here making financial decisions that it's just basically destroying the city. So to my understanding, you sold 200 acres for $10.2 million, or 10.4. But yet, you're going for a bond of 2.1. So it's 10.2 minus 2.1. It's worth like $8,050,000. Then there's a purchase of a building that's, mind you, 12,000 square feet, which is too small, and that's 1.8 million. So I would love to see the appraisal on that property and how these numbers came to fruition, because to my understanding, if you're giving away a piece of parcel for $45,000 an acre, you could have easily built something there, even if a prefab or a precast. I mean, I spoke to Northeast Precast. Their prices are pretty reasonable on putting up a building. So these are this sort of decisions that are basically crippling the city. You're blinded by numbers, but you don't know how to pick up a pen and actually calculate. 2,150,000 for a bond. Take that 10.2 and deduct that out. Mind you, it's over 30, 50 years, whatever the deal is. Then you take another $1.8 million and you're purchasing a property of 12,000 square feet at $150 a square foot. When Mr. Watson admitted to me that it would cost that much to resurrect a new building. So, on behalf of the citizens of Millville, all of us who are paying taxes, including myself, I'm a taxpayer, and I work here, unlike other people who don't work here. I work here. I spend 15, 18 hours a day, Saturdays, Sundays. You can find me here. So with that being said, you know, how do you justify the expenses, but you're all applauding each other and patting yourselves on the back for a $10.2 million sale for 200 acres? Take 10 acres, put it to the side, put up a building, and call it a day. But again, that's just an opinion of an individual who was actually trying to build something in Millville instead of trying to destroy the city. Because it's the thinking like that that's putting us on the ground. And I've heard comments, our professionals. Who are your professionals? Do you have somebody from KPMG or Ernst & Young that I don't know about? Perhaps Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Merrill Lynch? Who's your financial advisors here? Who's your business advisors? You're always speaking about professionals. Where are they? I've never seen them. Please bring them forward. I would love to have a conversation with them. You know? Thank you for your time, and I apologize. One more thing. When your taxes go up, think about this evening on what I said.
This is public hearing, then for comments. Seeing no one else, I will close public hearing on ordinance in the second reading, item number 4. Comments of commissioners.
Yes, if I may. Kim, and there's another representative here from the board. I want to thank you personally for what you have agreed to as the Board of Education. It's going to make a big difference. With that said, tomorrow there's a lot of packing starting. We're getting moving. For that, let's vote.
I had a comment. For this purchase agreement, it's not the 1.8, it's the 1.55, which is a little bit higher than, comparables. It's at 130 square feet. But this is a well-maintained building. At the very beginning, we started looking at relocation for the 15th Street warehouse. My big push was I wanted to develop, or I wanted to build, structures that was best suited for each department. And I wanted to do it using city-owned land, so it didn't affect any ratables. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough support behind that to, pursue that idea. So with that, we had to look at other options. And there really wasn't a whole lot that really suited us, at the last minute. And, when we're trying to make these purchases, there's so much to it, working with the municipality. There's so many hoops you got to jump through, and environmentals, and making sure you're doing things the right way, and using our professionals, environmental specialists. Talking to professionals we have on staff here. I'm really excited about this building. It's not the square footage that I would hoped, but it doesn't require fire suppression. So, something small like that, could substantially save the city money without upkeep. It's a well-built, well-maintained building. The structure cost to maintain it should be minimum. So I'm excited for it, and I think the departments are excited for it. We had each department head, police, fire, parks, streets and roads, all attend, visiting this building. We all got positive feedback, and that's why we decided to pursue this. Again, thank you to the Galdelli family for meeting with us, being so open, and as I said, I'm really excited about it. That's all I gotta say.
Yes, in spite of what's been said, this building is still undersized. I've been out there. Everything's not going to fit inside. Stuff will be placed outside. It'll be made to work. It will fall under my department to make it work, so I'll make sure that it does work, but there will be stuff outside. It was not the best option for the city, in my opinion. When you look at a building, you don't need to look at just what the building is now. You need to look at what it's going to be in 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. So when you look at the life of the steel building, you look at the life of the stone building, you look at the life of a block building, you look at the life of a prefab warehouse, where the walls are prefab, they're all different. I don't believe that was taken into consideration in this case. We will be putting some of the stuff at another location, some at the school board for the files, but some other equipment will also have to go at other locations. We will determine those locations as it becomes required. The warehouse is pretty much packed up. There's about 65 pallets of papers that are going over to the school board. Thank you for that. But there's still inadequate space in that building. So, you won't have my vote for it, but that's the way it goes.
Please, one person speaking at the time while one commissioner is speaking. No other comments, please. Any comments? Okay, good. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
No.
And Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Ordinances in first reading, seeing none. Consent agenda items.
Okay, all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the Board of Commissioners and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the governing body member so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Item 1 is a resolution authorizing the cancellation of unexpended current sewer utility and solid waste appropriations. Item 2 is a resolution authorizing the insertion of an additional item of revenue in the calendar year 2024 budget, which is now available from the U.S. Department of Justice under the fiscal year 2024 Local Justice Assistance Grant Program and Share Services Agreement between the City of Vineland, City of Millville, City of Bridgeton, and County of Cumberland in the sum of $15,499. Item 3 is a resolution canceling special cleanup assessment in the amount of $577.25 levied against Block 479, Lot 2, known as 306 South 3rd Street. Item 4 is a resolution canceling special assessment in the amount of $577.25 levied against Block 306 Lot 9, known as 702 Buck Street, and Block 306 Lot 10, known as 700 Buck Street. Item 5 is a resolution canceling tax sale certificate 20-00068 for 700 Buck Street due to deed in lieu of foreclosure. Item 6 is a resolution canceling tax certificate 20-00067 for 702 Buck Street due to deed in lieu of foreclosure. Item 7 is a resolution authorizing electronic tax sale on March 4, 2025 for delinquent 2024 charges and prior, including water, sewer, solid waste, and delinquent special assessments. And finally, item 8 is a resolution authorizing adjustment to the tax and utility records. So I just need a motion to approve these items.
Make motion?
Second motion.
We have a motion and second to approve consent agenda items. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Resolutions, please.
Okay, item 1 is a resolution allowing the city to endorse the Municipal Utility Engineering and Construction Agreement and Amendment, UECA Municipal Amendment between the NJDOT and the City of Millville Water Utility concerning project entitled Route 47 from Henderson to High Street.
Make a motion?
Second motion.
We have a motion and second on resolution item number 1. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Item 2 is a resolution appointing EB Employee Solutions LLC, DBA, as the difference card to provide HRA services for the city of Millville.
Make a motion.
Second motion.
We have a motion and second on resolution item number 2. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Item 3 is a resolution authorizing a no-cost contract to Electronic Manufacturers Recycling Management Company for e-waste recycling from January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025.
Make a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and second on resolution item number 3. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Item 4 is a resolution approving a contract with NRG Business Marketing LLC for natural gas supply services engaged on behalf of the city of Millville by the county of Cumberland, acting as lead agent for the Cumberland County Cooperative Contract Pricing System in the amount of 4.8568 per DTH total fixed burner tip with SUT over a 36-month term from January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2027.
Make a motion?
Second.
All right. Who got it? Steve got that? Okay, we got that.
We have a motion and second on resolution item number 4. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Item 5 was removed, so item 6 is a resolution authorizing a First Amendment to professional services contract with W.E. Johnson Engineering for additional funds in the amount of $20,000 with a new not-to-exceed amount of $220,000.
Move the resolution, and I did have certification funds.
Second motion.
Certification.
Waiting for cert.
Well, I thought he said he had it.
No.
I have it right here.
Thought I had it.
Here you go. Here you go.
I've seen it. Move the resolution, and with that, I do have certification availability of funds in the amount of $20,000, signed by our CFO, Susan Quinones.
Okay.
Second motion.
I
So we
think, I
have-
did, yeah.
It's okay, he can have it.
So we did.
We'll fight about something else later.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
We have. It's funny that we laugh at it. We have motion and second on resolution item number 6. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Item 7 is a resolution authorizing the award of state contract to Vineland Auto Electric Incorporated to upfit 2 patrol cars for the police department in an amount not to exceed $41,931.36.
Make motion, and with that, I have certification of funds in the amount of $41,931.36, signed by our Chief Financial Officer, Susan Quinones.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second on resolution item number 7. Any comments? Are these the new ones, or are these the
These
the
are
old ones?
transfers over, and they're being outfitted to go on the street.
Perfect. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Motion carries. And our last item that was added was number 8, authorizing order for the demolition of Block 3, Lot 5.05 after 15 days due to the structure being deemed an uninhabitable imminent danger.
Make motion.
Second motion.
We have motion and second on resolution item number 8. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thanks.
Seeing no new business, I will now open public comment portion of our meeting. If anybody would like to address the city commission, please go to the podium, state your name, address your concerns, and please limit your comments to approximately 5 minutes. Thank you.
I was stepping up because I want to know what the resolution is for us to continue the construction at 200 North High Street. Because you called me earlier. I spoke to the, I guess that's the
Can we have your name, sir?
Your name?
Malik Webb. And you guys was talking crazy on the phone. The tone was very like condescending as professionals. I'm just trying to complete the job so I can go. You guys was irate for no apparent reason. So what is the resolution for me to continue the project so I can close it out?
Well, there is no resolution. I spoke with you. Other people spoke with you.
Yeah. Also, I have like text messages like throughout the week. You talked to me earlier and you told me that there were some other things that needed to be done on your end so I can complete the construction. So I'm asking you, since this is an open meeting, what is the necessary steps so I can complete my job so I can go?
Finish your questions and
I'm done.
I'll answer.
Go ahead.
You're done.
You can answer.
I talked to you tonight. I told you you got to get the corners cleaned up, the sidewalk that's inside of the fence. I told you there cannot be any more closure of High Street. Did I
Okay.
not?
So what's the steps so we can complete
The
the
step
job?
is, I also told you, you need to see our construction officer who is on the 5th floor.
So why didn't you make all these necessary like requirements before I started the project? This was an emergent project. So you wait until the very end to try to bring the job to a halt, when this job was considered an emergent job from the very beginning.
And now you
So,
fixed it.
so no, the job is not finished. The soffit has to be enclosed so the wood does not rot over time again. So we won't be back at the board again. I'm trying to complete the job. So just tell me the necessary steps. Listen, if you're looking for permit money, which is $180, then tell me. I'll fill out the permit so I can complete the job.
Did I tell you that I would be down there to see you tomorrow at 8:30?
No, but you
Yes,
listen.
I did.
Listen, you
And I'll be
talked to me
bringing
about
the
cleaning up the trash.
You
The
told me
trash-
you were done.
The trash, no, it's not done.
Where,
You can look at it.
you
It's
told me you
evident.
were done asking questions. Are you done so that I can speak?
Yeah, go ahead, talk.
You don't
wanna
get to talk
listen,
again.
I just
Are
want to
you done?
resolve the
He has
problem.
floor, sir.
I just want to
The
resolve the
floor is
problem.
mine.
Sir, he has the floor.
Oh, that's
Now,
cool, go ahead.
tomorrow at 8:30, I will be down there. And I will be down there with the construction official. Correct? I told you this. You asked me if you could have a dumpster there to clean up the sidewalk tomorrow. Did you not? Yes. you
Yes,
did.
correct, yes.
That was before I was trying to get to this meeting. I told you that High Street cannot be closed again. High Street cannot be made a one-way street. I almost got ran over yesterday on that street by a resident. I guess she was in such a hurry to drive down. We had a police vehicle with a trailer removing the bends in the middle of the road so traffic couldn't come through, and I damn near got run over. It is Christmas. My businesses, the city's businesses, need to be open. You can pull permits to, you have abated the emergency situation. You have done that. Thank you. You didn't ask, you didn't pull permits to start rehabbing the building.
At the last meeting, he told me I didn't need a permit when I asked him
I'm
what
telling you
permits
that-
was necessary for me to commence the work.
I'm
He told
telling-
me I didn't need a permit to start the job. That was at the first meeting. You
I'm
guys
telling
keep,
you that you are now moving on renovations. It is the
it's
middle
no
of Christmas.
renovations. I'm repairing
There's
the
2
soffit.
weeks
Man,
left
you,
till
you-
Christmas.
you guys have a habit of making things
Brock,
up. You guys are a bunch of compulsive liars, man. I'm repairing the soffit. There's no other like repairs. I'm working on one thing. It's evident. I have pictures and videos.
I've been out there.
Yeah, I'm working on one thing, the soffit. I'm not working on anything else. I'm working on the
Our
fascia.
city streets will remain open.
So what necessary paperwork
Barring
do I
any
need?
kind of emergency.
Is
so
there a
that our
traffic
res-
plan? Is there a traffic plan that you need so I can provide it and
No.
give it to the city?
When you go to work on the
Why
job,
you keep like I'm trying to
Excuse
get you?
me,
I'm trying
sir,
to.
sir.
I'm trying to resolve the issue.
Order.
You're not applying for a permit before the body tonight. The commissioner's gonna meet with you
No,
tomorrow
but I'm
morning
trying to
at
get to
8:30.
the resolution. I want to resolve the problem so the owner
Then
is not
meet
back
with him tomorrow
in
at
the state
8:30.
again.
the
No,
resolution.
he can make it clear on the record. So
I'm
so
gonna make it
if-
clear now.
If in fact I needed to do an open request, I can at that time because everything was disclosed. I'm tired of going like back and forth, and it's just a bunch of lies.
I'm gonna
you
make
say
it-
this, you say that, you say I don't got time for that. I just want to complete the job to go on to finish my other projects.
Here's the resolution. It's 2 weeks to Christmas. You have abated the emergency situation, so we don't have to bring a
It's
fire truck
unfinished.
out
It's
10:30.
unfinished.
You have evaded anything falling off there unless you don't trust your own construction. Now you're done till after the Christmas season, and then you're more than welcome to pull the proper permits and finish the job. There can be no road closure anymore of High Street during this holiday season when our business owners need to be open for our residents and residents coming to visit their places of business. I think I told you that on the phone.
Okay.
I told you that
No
now on the
problem.
record, and I'll see you at
Okay.
8:30 tomorrow morning.
Okay, no problem. I just need an outline of the necessary steps that I need to take so I can resume work after
Construction official
these
will be-
holidays,
the
okay?
construction official will be with me at 8:30 also.
Hi, this is Anthony DeSantis. I'd just like to clarify something here. I did meet with Mr. Watson. There was other people present. We spoke about it at the last meeting, and I told them in order to save the city money, I would give them free space and no charge until they have a permanent home. I also offered if they wanted a lease space, that that's available too. But in order to accommodate the city and any emergencies and to, usually when you close a building, if you're not out by a certain day, there's a penalty involved. I told them, and we would even help. We have the ability to help out, we'll do it. Okay? So there was no dire emergency situation where they had to purchase a property immediately, especially one that's undersized. And for them to spend the kind of money that they've spent, right, just doesn't make any sense. So I wanted to clarify that because there was a comment made that, that Mr. Watson doesn't trust me. I heard that from Vineland. But you know what's funny? We're the ones spending the money. We don't trust him. Because we're the ones spending the money. He's not giving me any money. Where's the money that came to us? Thank you.
Greg Kears, 409 Peach Drive. I guess I just wanted to make one final comment on the development vote tonight, and I guess it was kind of a thank you to the city in a certain way because, I was able to get more clarity as to what's actually going on. Like, for instance, I'd been wondering about Mr. Pareca's property that abuts this, and if these are the prices now, man, that's going to sell and get cleared. And I can't help but think that, per the census data, we're the 7th loudest state in the country. And now all those residents on Fairfield, the McMansions by Pareca Drive, possibly if we develop across from the airport with warehouses, all of White Marsh, Cedarwood, everything between Buckshootum and those warehouses, it's just going to be noise, and it's going to change the actual character of the town. It's going to change the traffic patterns. It's going to change, how long it takes for you to get to work. And I'll be fully transparent. I have been actually thinking about this vote in a way that may be different in the sense that I do have the ability in the next 5 years to move out of this town. And part of what you did tonight kind of made my decision because the property I stand to inherit with my sister, we can now just turn into a rental because it's going to be surrounded by warehouses and loud. It's going to look a lot more like Camden than it is Millville. And part of the allure of Millville was that we had that balance of industry and the culture and history that came up with that, but also that open space that came and built the culture, because that open space is where we found the sand to build that industry. So it's just, I guess it blows my mind to see the character of a city literally changed in like a 1 month period, and just on a lot of ifs. And I'll be honest, if I was dating a woman with this many ifs, man, that's a lot of red flags. And I'm just going to leave it that way. That's all.
Thank you, Greg.
Roy Shepherd, Millville. While we're on a lot of these different topics. I like to talk about a topic that I talk with a lot of people in the community. I ask often, what's the biggest problem that people see with the city of Millville? And one is, city of Millville has a spending problem, and I can see that here tonight by buying this building for more dollars than I think should have been spent. But primarily, the number one thing I hear out of people's mouth is our number one problem here in the city is the form of government that we practice. Now with the election done, I also look at other cities and how they operate, and they run under a different form of government. Coming in the election coming up in November, has there been any thought ever, and if so, could we possibly put that on the ballot? Thank you.
Do you want me to answer that?
Go ahead, Brock.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that that referendum was on the ballot, I think approximately 5 years ago, and I think the
Roy, I'll
voters
touch on
voted
it
it
at
down.
the end.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Barry Campbell. I just wanted to echo what the young man talked about in addressing some of the issues regarding character and culture relative to Millville. I know I stood before you a couple of weeks ago and asked about multiculturalism and inclusion in government. And so I bring that up again in relative to what he talked about, is that what we see is an all-white administration. And even when others that are non-white, like me, I volunteered and I was voted no. And so I ask, what kind of message does that send? Does it say that as a non-white person, we don't want you to participate in the administration or the government of Millville, when whites are only 40% and non-whites, whites are 60% and non-whites are 40%? Does that mean, since you say no, that you don't want blacks having a voice in the administration of a government that is supposed to be representative of them also? So I ask the question is, how would you as whites know best what the concerns, what the issues are for blacks? I mean, maybe you don't give a damn when you vote no. I mean, on its very face, it's, if I may say so, it's racist on its manifestation, okay? And I know Millville is better than that. We want to have people represented. I'm sure whites have as many issues as blacks. But when there's no voice that a black person can articulate and help in expressing what their concerns are, how does that work? Doesn't work. So my strong recommendation is that maybe we take a first look at this. Where can we provide inclusion that we can best represent all of us, not just the 60%? Now, I don't say that to say that you don't appreciate, know anything about the concerns that are non-whites. I never said that. What I'm saying is, how can it best be addressed if it doesn't come from their side also? Thank you.
Paul Parecka, I just wanted to clarify that I was not trying to be adversarial over the contract. It's just there's a lot of stuff in there that over 50 years is going to create a lot of questions. I mean, I have been involved in real estate contracts for over 35 years now, and I would have never approved that contract. But that was not for me to say. I just had some questions. I don't think that the agenda open meeting said questions only, but maybe I read it wrong in the agenda where it says comments on the agenda items. So I'm sorry that I snapped at you, but it seemed like you might have felt that I was being adversarial, and I wasn't trying to be. I was trying to get clarification on the contract that took me all day to read 3 times, and you spent a lot of time on it. I only spent a very short period of time because it was the only time that we were exposed to the contract to analyze it. And I just wanted to make that point clear. I'm glad that the ground is sold, and hopefully it goes through the way it did. I wasn't really going to get up and say anything because I probably knew it was going to pass, but all of these meetings now are permanently in the web. So 50 years from now, when my kids look back at it and they can look at my speech, maybe I'll be right.
Thank you, Mr. Pareca. Seeing no one else, I will close public comment portion. Closing comments of commissioners. Commissioner Hewitt.
Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Have a great Christmas and a good New Year. We'll see you at the break of the last year of this commission.
Commissioner Casabun.
I just want to say thank you to Kim because relationships between the school board and the city have been poor, to say the least, in the last 20 years. I know that from experience. So I'm very happy to see the communication there. And as for my decision about the Gardelli building, I'm sorry, but you cannot put a dollar sign on the employees that would have to have worked in the other building that we had looked at because of the location. I, for one, would not put my employees, anybody, in that kind of situation. I'm sorry. There's problems over in that area. They're going to be much safer.
Thank you, Commissioner Casabun. Commissioner Sui.
Yes, Greg, I hope you're right. I hope this deal does change the character of the city. Because when I walk down High Street, it doesn't look too enticing. Some areas of the city, I wouldn't walk down at night. I'm sure most of you wouldn't either. So, and also look at changing the city and attracting and retaining skilled employees. The reason I worked so hard on economic development over the last 3 years is so that we can attract and keep the great employees. So it's been a hard road, and I know many of the employees didn't believe that at the time. They were told otherwise by other people, that I was in charge of finance and I just wouldn't let you have the money. Believe me, if there's a pile of money down there, it's not mine, it's everybody's. So that's why I've worked so hard for this. So to me, I'm pretty happy tonight. This was a long, hard battle, lots of negotiations, lots of things to do, and I think it's going to have a great positive impact on the city. I'll just take one issue with what you said about the area where the building is. Our employees go down there all the time, cut grass by that park, and near that area, there's a child care center there. But that's all water under the bridge at this point. The next thing we really have to worry about, because over the last 2 months, we put $16 million in the bank. So $2 million of it, you can say, is being spent already. So that leaves us with $14 million. Now, what are we going to do with $14 million? We're going to have the tax income, the ratables, to continue to make the contract sustainable over time. That's one of the main ideas of doing this. So between that and the money in the bank, we should be able to offset, at least this was my plan before the last meeting, offset some of the tax increase, if not all of it, through some of this money for a year. And then as the ratables kicked in, we wouldn't have to worry about that. So as I said, I asked the library to come. Other sports leagues were asked to come to support this. I see one. They didn't show up, but I guarantee you the library will send us a letter telling us they need another $60,000 a year. Everybody else will come to us looking for more money. You better learn how to say no, because that $10 million will last about 10 minutes. It needs to be invested in, a significant portion of it needs to be invested in further infrastructure improvements so that this project can attract other projects. And with this project, you can bet other developers are going to start looking. So we need to be business friendly to all our businesses. We don't need to give them a hard time. We don't need to let them waste countless dollars on nonsense. We need to help them. That's what we should be doing if we want this place to prosper and flourish and provide jobs for our students that are eventually going to graduate high school. So that's how I look at this. You guys will make up your own minds when you do. And speaking of employees and labor, I know I'm on the negotiations committee. Does anybody have an idea when we're doing our next meeting with the labor attorneys? Could you let me know that sometime tomorrow or whatever, since that pops into my head as I speak about this?
Next Monday.
Monday, what time?
I believe it's 3.
3 o'clock, thank you. And that's all I have. Progress, Mr. Mayor. Oh, one last thing. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, all that stuff. No more events till after the New Year, so I have none to announce.
I'll cover the board on that.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I wrote it down. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Sui. I know you worked a long time on the CRP project. To see it come and to see it go past today, it was a big step for Millville. CRP it was over 3 million square feet over the whole development deal. With that kind of project that's in motion, you know what I mean, and trying to develop relationships, like say with the county, maybe with the authority, the Cumberland County Improvement Authority, Board of Education, building those relationships up so we can all kind of work together, trying to make these big projects happen. It's very important. I think this meeting was, there was a lot of progress made in this meeting. Kind of proud to be a part of it. Thank you for coming, and have a good Christmas.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Watson. Yes, you were right. It's a long and enduring process that this deal has been finally consummated too. I was worried about it. I did not know how to receive it. As Commissioner Sui said, he invited a lot of people. So did I. State legislators, assemblymen. Important for Millville, but it's important for South Jersey. It's important for all of New Jersey, what this business will bring. CRP is not their first rodeo in warehouses. Like I said, they did many other entities that they're involved in. You can look in Swedesboro and Plainsfield, and they are a North Jersey business. But the project at hand that Commissioner Sui says will invite more business to the city of Millville. As I already said, Millville Developers 47 going to develop on North Delsey Drive. It's a bunch of trees right now. It's not a big property, but they're going to put something there. It's exciting to see Millville evolve. We all evolve in our own lifetime. Over 40% of Millville is already protected, as in protected by wildlife and land, through the state, through the county. Millville needs to grow and needs to expand. Millville means business. There is a commercial that featured myself. It was on our Facebook page, and then we had our unsightly attacks, I'd call them, on city professionals, and our city Facebook page was shut down. Should be on TV soon. But it's all for us to do our jobs and for us to succeed here in Millville. Roy, you said about change in government. That's a hard one. It's have to be a memorandum on a ballot. Last time it did not get flying colors. And Brock was right. That was probably about 5 or 6 years ago. I'll speak to more about that with you. I'd like to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Please be safe. Enjoy your time with your families and friends. And all have a wonderful good night. Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor?